Groin injuries are one of the toughest injuries to come back from for football soccer players. After all, it is an area of muscles you use every single day for normal daily activities. Adductor injuries are specifically the most common hip and groin injuries in professional footballers. The goal for this video is to show you the methods I use on my athletes and what I did on myself to come back from a groin injury setback that I thought I was never going to come back from. What's up team, Coach Abraham checking in with Armor Strength and Conditioning. The goal of this video is to educate and help you come back from your adductor/groin injury. We're going to cover a lot of topics in this video, which includes what research is saying and how we should go about training these injuries, the exercises that you should be doing, and the reps and sets so you can apply it yourself and come back stronger than ever before. So feel free to skip around. I have the table of contents right here at the bottom of the video where you can scroll around and see whatever interests you. If you just want to skip to the exercises, you can do that as well. Although I highly recommend that you watch everything in its entirety because again, there's going to be a lot of information I just want you to know so you can prevent that in the future and again, just come back stronger. So guys, without further ado, let's get straight into this video.
Yeah, top of the morning, I know that you thought I was dormant. Woke up early from shots that was swarming the block.
Prevalence in football. Adductor muscle injuries account for up to 63% of hip groin injuries and up to 23% of all muscle injuries. That's 1/4 of all football injuries. Risk factors for adductor injuries include previous groin injuries and weak adductors and abductors. In previous research, Tech and colleagues found that those with adductor injuries 82% return to pre-injury levels, in other words, fitness levels before the injury, within 2 weeks after therapy. However, 18% of footballers suffered a re-injury. Adductor injuries in UEFA top leagues. The following information is research conducted over UEFA's top 5 leagues, which includes the EPL, Bundesliga, La Liga, Ligue 1, and Serie A. Between 2000 and 2015, which recorded 671 players who sustained an adductor muscle injury. Alright guys, from the study, we're going to go over 3 crucial points every footballer should know. First one includes rate and time to return to play, rate of re-injury, and how an adductor injury impacts your next 4 seasons. Rate and time to return to play. 78% or 3/4 of the 671 returned to play at the same level. Players missed a median of 22 days and 4 games. Rate of re-injury. From those who returned to play, 21% of them suffered a re-injury within 2 years. Other research has emphasized that a great preventative measure for both first and second adductor muscle injuries is by strengthening of the hip, abductors, and groin muscles. So as long as you continue to work out those areas and strengthen everything else on top of your regular gym routine, this is further going to enhance your injury quote-unquote prevention. Number 3, how an adductor injury impacts the following 4 seasons. Player retention was higher for the injured versus the non-injured. In other words, the injured player stayed longer. The injured scored more goals per 90 minutes compared to the non-injured 2 seasons after the injury. The injured racked up more assists per 90 minutes 1 season after the injury. When you think about it, I don't think it's a surprise that the post-injured players are finding more success than the non-injured players. The reason I say that is because more than likely the injured ones were the ones who were getting more playing time, which means more wear and tear on the body. Because if a player is getting more playing time, their workload increases and so does their risk of injury. But to clarify, there are many other factors that come into play as well. This is why it should be in the player's interest to manage their recovery, which includes sleep and nutrition, their load, meaning maybe in the gym we are doing the minimal effective dose to get the results, meaning modifying your training load according to the season, and the appropriate rest time in between matches. Now, before I go any further, I'd like to share my experience of how I got an adductor injury myself and how I was able to treat it. An injury that should have taken maybe weeks to a couple months, but it ended up taking me 1 year. So you're gonna find out through my mistakes, and I want you to learn from that. I was coaching and showing a plyometric demonstration while my body was cold and tight, and simply put, I overexerted myself. I should have warmed up. Throughout this period, I did minimal rehab, and to be honest, I didn't care much for it. I had a job to do, and that was to coach and demonstrate for my athletes. Long story short, after months, I finally decided to take my rehab serious because I wanted to play again, and so I started a more in-depth rehab process. I sought a professional, which is a physical therapist, because this was out of my range of knowledge. I'm more qualified for return to performance or the later stages of rehab, not the early stages. Thanks to the rehab and knowledge I gained, I have been very successful implementing the same concepts and exercises you'll see later in this video. Rehab process. At the beginning, rehab can include more isolated exercises, which later progresses to more intense multi-joint single and two-leg strength exercises, to plyometrics, and finally sprinting and changing direction. Typically, rehabilitation process begins with reps from up to 10 up to failure, within a pain score of 2 on a rating scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is no pain and 10 is the worst possible pain. Throughout weeks, progressive overloading is encouraged when the pain level decreases. For example, if a certain exercise at 10 pounds or 10 kilos gives you a pain level of 2 out of 10 for 15 reps, and after 2 weeks the pain drops to a 0.5 out of 10, the athlete is encouraged to go up in load to, let's say, 15 kilos or pounds, while keeping the pain no more than 2 out of 10. Research has shown an effective program can be done 3 times a week on alternating days. It should be noted that additional exercises should be included targeting the posterior chain, which can include the abductors, extensors, hamstrings, and the calves. In addition, a separate progression of running and sports function should be added, including sprinting and change of direction with and without the ball when possible, which could be progressed daily according to the individual's training program. So essentially, guys, you have 2 protocols. The first one being the groin exercise protocol, and the second is going to be a running and sport function protocol. And as you can see here, guys, I'm going to leave this on the screen, take a screenshot, whatever. These are from a study and very generalized, but still very efficient and something you can use as a guide. Guys, if you are finding value in this video so far, please give it a like and subscribe for more high quality content. Also follow me on my Instagram, where I do post a lot more than on YouTube. Once you're ready to go and you're healed up and can start a good training program, check out the ones on my website, my off season, my in season. If you want something more custom to you, I also have that as well. And I recommend more for my serious players, my college and my professional athletes. All right, team, we've gone through all the dirty work and information. Now onto the exercises. And I want you to keep in mind the intensity of some of these exercises will greatly vary. And to re-emphasize, I am not a doctor or physical therapist. This is for informational purposes only, so proceed at your own risk and follow this at your own risk. First exercise, more on the isolated side. We are pulling in the band, utilizing those groin and adductor muscles. This is probably going to be the least intense exercise, and one of the exercises where we typically start in the early stages of rehab. Up next is going to be a 1-leg glute bridge squeeze. As you can see in the reps and sets, you want to start off at 85% intensity, and throughout the weeks increase the intensity of how much you are squeezing that ball. Drive your hips up high, squeeze your glutes, and squeeze the ball. A regression or a beginner exercise to this one, just utilize both legs. So instead of picking one leg up in the air, keep both heels down and squeeze with both legs. Up next, a band hip drive. This one is going to target more of the hip flexors, which is still very important for adductor health. We do want to focus on going back for 3 seconds and getting a 1-second hold at the back and top of the movement. To give it to you very simple, in case you're confused of what the tempo means, as you can see, that's the number 3. Typically, that's going to be how many seconds we are going on the eccentric and on the way back. This next number is going to determine if we hold it at the back. This next number is going to be how many seconds we drive up, and the last number is going to be how many seconds we hold it up at the top. For the band volleys, these are going to get a little bit more specific and target the adductor a little bit more. Personally, this was one of my favorite ones because this is where I felt the pain, so I started working up in these. And again, you want to go back 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to hit it up and maybe hold that for 1-2 seconds up at the top. A very well-known exercise is the Copenhagen. We got 4 different variations. This is progression number 1, going with the knees. As you can see, the bottom leg is also squeezing that bench. Second variation, we're going to go long lever. Personally, I like to keep my whole calf on the bench and not my foot, just to minimize any knee pain that can happen. And then we're going to go dynamic ones on the knee. As you can see, I am letting my hips drop all the way, and I'm getting a stretch on the right adductor, getting a good squeeze at the top. And we will progress this one by going on to a long lever. Same thing, just dropping the hip, going up to the top and squeezing that bottom leg and top leg. Up next, another good one are roller adductors. As you can see, the band is also pulling us in, and it's our job to resist. And then as we bring it back in, well, that's going to be more work towards the inside of the thigh. I gotta say, whenever I did this one the very first time, I was so sore, and like many of the exercises, it's going to be a different type of stimulus. That is why, as you can see, for a lot of these, we begin at 2 sets. Another thing you can use instead of a roller, you can use a slider or a paper plate on a soft surface. Another great exercise right here, we're going on to a couple of variations, and this is the lateral squat. Both toes are pointing forward. We sit back to the side, almost like sitting back on a chair. Get as deep as you can. Keep in mind, the deeper you go, the more groin adductor we are going to target. We are starting to transition more onto these multi-joint exercises. Now we go on to a lateral lunge, placing more emphasis on deceleration. And again, I want you to see, look how my toes are pointing forward. I have the weights in a goblet position, and we keep on progressing from here. And another lateral squat variation, this time using a slider. You can also use a paper plate, and just finding different ways of loading that area. Up next, a one leg step down with an adductor focus. These are really good because we start to transition more into our single leg multi-joint exercises with more of an emphasis on the adductor. As you improve through the rehab process, you should be also doing heavier or multi-joint exercises, which is going to hit multiple muscles in multiple planes. The next multi-joint single leg exercise, the single leg RDL, and as you can see as well, we are going to place more of an emphasis on the adductor. Band is going to pull the knee out, and it's our job to resist that and keep the knee in, and that's what's going to help us activate and engage that adductor. And like I said, we need to start including hip extensor exercises, and what better exercise than a knee dominant hamstring exercise, which is the single leg curl. It's going to activate the glutes, the hamstrings, and just an overall money exercise. Up next, I'm going to go over a variety of core exercises that you should add because the core also helps stabilize the hips. Here you see my guy doing a plank variation. This is specifically a plank with a pike up on the roller, and you can use sliders, paper plates, or you can again just use any plank variation. Then we go on to a dead bug. You see me providing resistance with a pull, really focusing on keeping the low back on the floor. Really, any challenging dead bug will do, just like you see me do a resisted dead bug. And a pull-off press to get that transverse plane and resisting in the rotational plane. Again, for the core exercises, find variety, make sure it's challenging, and keep progressing. Like I mentioned, getting on a running plan will be equally as important. Even something as simple as slowly getting back into playing while keeping pain to a minimal, while also incorporating plyometrics and increasing intensity as your pain decreases and strength decreases will be very important. This can be done along the strength program in the mid stages of rehab, but that can vary, again, as long as you keep your pain under a 2 out of 10. The examples I am showing you is to give you an idea of the intensity, more stability and landing in the early stages, and they are later progressed to more reactive and explosive jumps. Keep in mind, guys, the rehab process can be different for everybody as far as how severe the injury is, the consistency of the player when it comes to the training program they're in, and the overall progress and how the body is responding. Now here's a schedule I came up with to give you an idea of how training could look like progressed for 1 month. It is recommended to perform additional exercises on top of the protocol on the same or another day. Remember, I am only showing you how to progress the groin and adductors. There may be many other exercises which can be relevant for you, which may include the hip abductors, extensors, hamstrings, and calves. Discuss with your physiotherapist how to prioritize these. As you transition into return to performance, less isolated exercises are done and compound lifts are introduced. A running program should be added as well, keeping pain to a minimum. Remember to increase volume slowly. Use this more as a guide than feeling like you have to follow it as you see it, and listen to your body. Something that's not talked about enough is the mentality while you're going through this injury. And guys, it's tough, but you got to understand, every player in their career will go through something like this, and I'm hoping not everybody has to go through something so severe where they're out for more than a year. The mental aspect is one of the most challenging because you want to be on the pitch, you want to play with your buddies, you want to help your team win, and that's completely understandable. But there's other things that you can do while you're injured, which can include learning more about the game from a tactical standpoint, learning film, studying yourself, start making maybe future plans to what you're going to do to prevent this injury down the line, and so many other things that can benefit you from a mental aspect. Because as we know, at the top level, right, it's not just about who is going to be the most physically dominant or even the highest IQ in the game, but also who is mentally tough, who can take that pressure at the highest levels. Again, guys, if you found value in this video, go ahead and drop it a like and subscribe for more high quality content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.